build a structure of any kind, building, fence, stuff like that.
Locates mandatory.
Any major
yeah.
improvements to the house, yeah, I mean, if you're doing little things that like.
This is what I was told, and just, I guess, verify this. So far, we have done, in our opinion, no construction on the house whatsoever, other than remove and replace. Same footprint, like the
Yep,
windows,
yep.
I got new windows for the whole house, but I've been replacing them. When I took the decks off the house, the county told me, I think it was Duran, said, as long as you're holding to the same footprint, you can put in a brand new deck as long as it's the same footprint. In between there, since I didn't get it done over the winter time, I can't think of his name. Tax assessor stopped by, and he did a little walkthrough just kind of out of the blue, and I said, well, I didn't get my decks put back on, and he said, well, I'm assessing it with all your decks now. And I said, well, I think I can use the same footprint, and so he says, well, since I'm here, I'm assessing it with all the decks.
He'll come
But
around
I guess
everything.
when it comes to building permit, as long as I hold to the same footprint.
The reason you need a building permit though for that, to add a new deck, is because it puts the value
The
of your
taxes,
property up.
yeah.
So he needs, that's why we have to issue them,
Right,
because he
yeah.
has to go around and look.
So when I do get the building permit now, because I'll need one now to put a
Right.
deck on, correct? And then tax assessor will probably have to come back out
Yeah,
and
he'll
look at it
he
again.
typically gets us stuff
At the end
each
of,
year.
at the end of the
Okay.
year, give him all the building permits that were applied for and granted, and then he goes from there.
Anything building permit wise to do with gardening? Like,
Or,
like right now, we got some trellises standing, it's just like a piece of fence with some posts, and it's just garden boxes and stuff. I'm just making sure that
No.
there's nothing we're violating.
yeah, the only thing I'll say in regards to gardening is, how did it work, you guys, the way they did it, just, odd number houses, water on odd days,
Oh, yeah.
even numbers, even days,
Oh.
just cause it's not a strain all at one time.
So say that again?
There'll be a posting out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
On the water bill or something, or?
Yeah, we'll just put on there that,
If it gets to be a water crunch, or,
Yeah.
Okay,
and then if we do run into issues, I know we've talked about it before, is that eventually, just so everybody knows, eventually we will be working towards water meters.
meters, that makes
So,
sense.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pay-to-play type thing.
Yeah,
It-
that makes
pay for
sense,
use.
you know, and
So,
update it.
But just so that you guys know, that'll probably come.
Do you have an idea of when, this year, next year?
No, it's really, it's just one of those things that
You're working
it
towards,
needs to be done.
yeah.
I mean, it's easier to find leaks.
Well, yeah, we're a family of 6, and, well, like, you guys are a family of 2, and we're using 4 times as much water, just flushing toilets, you know, so it makes sense, you know.
And then the only other thing I can think of is just, and this goes for everybody that has gardens or any type of plants, be conscientious about the animals, rodents you might get. I mean, that other property owners might experience because of having it. So if you can deal with them before they start moving in or whatever, just keep watch out for them, so
Yeah,
we don't have neighbors complaining, stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, just, other than that, I mean, there's no issue with
Okay.
it.
and like tillage in the fall is a good thing too, because
to
we've
till it all under, and-
Yeah.
yeah.
had complaints
Oh, there it blows
regarding the
around,
pumpkin
and,
patch and
Yeah,
some
we
of
got,
that,
mhm.
so.
And it's good for it anyway to do that.
probably better.
Okay, now that that's off, I had intended to come here tonight and hopefully be on the agenda to talk about a business venture in town. We've been looking at some property and we can see some very positive potential for business in the town here that might even bring a little life to the town. But that's not for tonight, that's gonna be for a different night, and, I gotta talk about a chicken citation for these birds. As I discussed with Randy and Chris one night on my lawn, that, I was truly unaware that there was any kind of an ordinance in this town dealing with fowl of any kind. In fact, I was kind of programmed quite the opposite. My realtor said it's in favor of chickens. Neighbors, not direct neighbors, but there's been people in town that thought it was okay with chickens. There was never a problem with chickens. I've heard stories that you've had some nightmare in town with some chickens that lived across 75. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounded pretty horrible for the town. But we don't, have the place cleaned up, the property cleaned up. It's been quite a project to get that property cleaned up, and we've been working very diligently to clean it up. But I guess in a roundabout way, chickens could be a messy thing if you're a neglectful owner, neglectful property manager or whatnot. And I'm hoping that the residents are seeing that we're diligent, we're clean on what we're doing, we are considerate, and we consider safety and others. What we do out there, we know it affects the town, other people, and that goes for every resident in town. What you do, if you leave a whole stack of junk cars out there, that might affect your neighbors, you know. Now, the problem I had with this notice is that night when you and Chris were there, we had discussed about, because of the investment I had already made, and I understand it was my own ignorance that I didn't come and look at the city ordinance, but we were gonna be allowed time to come talk with the council for a variance, an exception, or whatnot to the rule. And then I also said I would be down that following Monday to read the ordinances, so I can update myself. And I was served a 7-day notice, a $300 a day fine. That would put me at about $2,200 just to make it to tonight. So in the meantime, we complied, we got rid of our chickens probably 2 days after this notice, and I sent a certified letter, okay, that just stated we did comply. And you know, we're not trying to push oil and water together, we're not trying to flow up a stream, we're trying to be very workable and peaceable people here in the community. But I guess I'm here asking for a variance on this. I've spoken with most of my neighbors, and so far I have the support, I believe, of my neighbors that fowls would be okay. And they're not gonna be free-range chickens where they just run into everybody's yard. In fact, it's gonna be a very small area, and 20 birds, maybe 30 birds, we're talking, egg layers, and no roosters. And I guess at this point, I'm asking for a variance on this, an exception to the rule.
Inject something. I've been a resident for over 50 years in this town. And I can remember that across the back alley, approximately from here all the way to the end of the block, used to be ducks, geese, chickens, and
Wow.
it became a big nuisance. And then they had Evanson's Produce Egg Factory deal here, and they had chickens and eggs. It got to be a big stink.
So there's quite a history
And then,
here.
yes, and then Borgeson's, you'd bring hogs in town and drop them off. That was before they had to enact these ordinances to get this under control. Borgeson's built the shed out on the highway, and it was actually Red Pennings that used to own that house that lived over here that started that big issue there, and I remember that being a big thing, so. That's why they enacted these things, because it got out of hand.
Well-
It got way out of, and they didn't take care of them, and it just stopped.
Well, and see, that's the thing, that's where the city needed to take it upon itself and kind of get control of that situation. When you see the neglectful stuff, it doesn't mean you gotta be permitted or whatnot to do it, but it does, people do need to respect each other, respect their neighbors. And if there's a problem with anything, like the city meeting we came to last year, it was about junk cars and loose dogs. Well, look at the city now that it was addressed. A lot of the cars got cleaned up, a lot of the dogs got chained up, and now that it was addressed, were those situations ever addressed in the past with the, I mean, if they were, then why was it allowed to continue? You know, I
There was
guess,
an ordinance made against them, and
and that's when things changed.
Yeah.
and-
It's gotta be the same for everybody. What's good for one person gotta be the same, and it's hard to justify.
Oh, I do agree to
Everybody else is
that.
different situations.
But-
Yes.
And I think, I wanna interject that, you know, asking for like the variance in the sense that you said 20 birds, well, if you were to go to Madison, you wouldn't get your wish there. There's some towns that you limit you to 2 or 3 chickens at the most, and you got certain requirements, if you don't meet them, you can't even have them. I mean, it's stringent on that even.
Clinton, I think, is bad. They're like 6 birds, I think.
I think Hendricks is 7, and I'm not stating that you're not gonna follow the rules, but Hendricks did it, and they've had nothing but freaking trouble, because this guy's good, this guy's terrible, this guy's terrible, this guy's good. This guy don't clean up, this guy does. And if we do it for you, we have to do it for everybody, and that's what opens the door for it, because if we let you, who's good, We have to
I
let everybody,
fully
so we get
understand.
one good one and 5 bad ones.
I don't
And
think
then
we
it
wanna
becomes
open
the
that
city's
up.
problem.
Well, this is where the city now can take control of a situation like that, instead of saying
The city
no,
did take control and make
by
an
saying
ordinance
no
against
all
them.
over,
Yeah,
right?
the way we can-
But instead, like a lot of towns do, they can go to, let's do a free permit that says if we get all your neighbors complaining and we drive by and you got chickens running into yards, we can shut you down as the city. Otherwise, if things are going good and then people aren't complaining about smells
Okay,
or,
can I just ask
Yeah.
one question?
Oh.
You said you talked to most of your neighbors. Well, I can count 4 of them sitting right here. Did he talk to you? Are you okay with him? You are. Are you?
I don't even think I've met you.
My name's Vanessa and I live right to your south.
On the corner there?
Across the
Okay.
street. I have a question, couple questions. Manure, what do you plan to do with that? And then a question about butchering.
If it's butchering, it's, out of a necessity, like because it's a rooster or something like that.
Yeah, but we butcher laying hens too, though.
Yeah,
So
Lay-
that's, I was just asking if you planned on butchering or you just.
yeah, I mean,
In-
it's inevitable. I mean, it's not, we're gonna
In your
go buy
backyard?
200 birds and, yes. Yeah, we have an
And
acre and a
manure?
half, we're on the south, there's nothing but field behind us and vacant
So you're
house.
just gonna dump it in his field?
No, oh, you're asking where
Yeah,
my
where you
waste
gonna-
goes?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Because you
everything
have to
will be
clean up the
properly,
pens.
yes,
Yeah.
everything will be properly taken care of. We'll probably have a small compost out there, with or without chickens, we'll probably do some composting for our garden or whatnot. But as for smell, first of all, we're very diligent in everything we do. Secondly, I don't know what's around Bellingham, but last year, for about 6 months out of the year, you walk outside and you're standing inside of a pig barn, so.
Yeah.
My
there's
point
pig
is
barns out
that
of
the
town
smell
and you
that
can't
we're gonna
help the
produce
wind,
with a
but-
few birds.
I mean,
but-
I already get the smell when you're burning garbage
I
and I
don't think
can't
we-
open my windows because
Yeah,
you're
we
burning.
don't burn any garbage, never once burn garbage.
I would say no to the chickens because
think
we
if
already
you want-
have an animal problem. I just had a badger in my window well, skunks
But that's a
everywhere in the
wild
garage.
animal, those are wild animals, I
Right,
can't
but I'm
control that.
saying those animals, that's their predators.
They're gonna come to
Yeah.
that.
And we already have that with, I mean, being on the main highway, being close to the country life is right outside of us,
Yeah, back in the past, we fought off civet cats too before.
yeah, I know that, I mean,
But
even
this
though
is
you try, my parents don't live far from here and we had a mink come and get our chickens. That's the kind of animals that are gonna be coming in. And with the river being
so
not
you've
too far
raised
away.
chickens somewhere else, or?
Yep, my parents have a farm. We got rid of our chickens, but, so I know that the waste is very, it comes fast because you have the bed, the
I've raised chickens my whole
chicken
life,
coop,
yeah.
and everything else. So that's my point, I guess.
I mean, these guys can vouch for me when it comes to any change in any ordinance, because before any chicken would be allowed in town, the ordinance has to get changed. And that starts with a petition and.
Why did you change other ordinances without that then?
Like what?
Like what? Well, the city is allowed to enact ordinances for
Well, then
reasons.
I don't
If
see
there's
why it's
something
needed
that
a
comes up with
petition.
our sewer system, that's our
But
problem.
a variance is just that, I'm not asking to go around for a petition, and I certainly will if need be, but I'm not asking to go around for a petition. I'm asking for a variance from the city to make an exception, there's examples, I believe, I may be completely wrong, but there's examples of you guys doing just that for others. And-
Property variances,
What's that?
property line variances, that's what people get.
Before we start bringing animals to town, I think you obviously have to have meetings, and I
It would
just,
have to be a public vote.
Yeah, it has to be
And
public
I-
vote.
It has,
and I don't think, like I said,
And the thing I run into,
I don't need to be downwind of that chicken.
the other place I go with it is that, okay, you're asking for more things that are gonna have more enforcement. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. I mean, personally, I'd love to have my cows in my backyard. But when you start adding more things and you're saying, oh, well, you just gotta keep track of them and enforce it. We don't have the manpower or the money to be hiring somebody to do this job full-time of enforcing when people don't follow the rules as it is.
But that's a good point you just made. You're enforcing something on me that many others are in the same violation of the same ordinance.
They have chickens?
They have more than two dogs.
I think
Oh.
it's 3.
You can have, 2 dogs over the age of 6 months.
Yeah, if they're under 6 months, that's different, but over 6 months, it's 2 dogs and 2 cats
So
or something.
that's large dogs that are outside. Who has them? Tell me who has them.
I know they're out there, but I'm not going to name names or point fingers, I'm talking
Well,
about
then
this
we-
situation. Okay, well, I will bring this, an example, and I could be completely wrong, and I could care less either way, don't get me wrong, I'm not pointing or saying anything about anything other than making the example. You have, one of the clearest ordinances of your 700 ordinances is that no liquor license will be given to a business or a residential that's within 300 feet of a school or a church. It is very clearly written, and you just got your liquor license approved for on sale, and that's great, more power to you, but,
I didn't.
or the gas station did,
Mine
didn't they?
is claused. Mine has been that way for 40 years.
What
You're
changed?
looking at the Legion over here. So before you start pointing fingers, you better.
No, I'm not, don't take, hey, I'm not pointing no
Well,
fingers.
We don't
I'm-
have a liquor license, we have
No.
a beer license.
I
That's
apologize,
different.
I'm not trying to point a finger, I'm
Way
just saying
different.
that's an example, you
It's
know?
not though, because we were grandfathered in when we got the place. He's had that liquor license or beer license there for however long he owned the place. So if I'm wrong, you
But
guys
that
can all tell
ordinance
me
goes
right
back
now.
more than 40 years. In fact, it probably comes from prohibition. In fact, your ordinances say that there's no liquor allowed in town whatsoever.
And mine is 3-2.
On Sunday.
That's totally different than High Point
Wow.
beer or liquor
There's no sale on Sundays, that's what it says.
on liquor, yeah, and High Point.
It's a dry place on Sundays.
So even though you can look at a situation and say, I understand having a town vote, and if we gotta do that, we'll do that. But, you know, we own an acre and a half on the edge of town, there's nothing but field, I got a vacant house on one side, I have neighbors, mostly, I guess, I never not talked with you, I didn't know, but, I mean, there's favoritism of doing foul in town. You know, again, and not in letting it just go wild like you guys have had in the past. And I'm asking for a variance, you know, see how it goes, you know, there's always gonna be a neighbor, or always gonna be that residence that I hate chickens no matter, and it don't have to be chickens, I hate cars, I hate whatever, there's always gonna be those few individuals, but my God, this is a town of 100 people, it's a farming community, it's behind the times. Towns have been saying no chickens for many years, and now many of these towns are converting over. I come from a town of 18,000 people that allow chickens, as long as it's within 75 feet. To me, that sounds pretty close. But within 75, it can't be within 75 feet, the chicken dwelling to a residential dwelling. You know, that's in a town that's literally, it's like square, maybe mile and a half. 17,000 people in that tight of an area allows chickens. Minneapolis allows chickens. Many of the surrounding communities, almost all of Minnesota, save for probably 10, and this is one of the 10, that don't allow chickens. And I get it, believe you me, if I lived right smack downtown and my neighbor had roosters and they were taking care of their chickens and it stunk to high heaven and there's piles of garbage and poop piling up, yes, I would hate that myself. I would want nothing to do with it. In fact, I'd be against it. But we're not reigning the smack of downtown, and I get what you say is what's gotta be good for others, but people need to prove themselves. I'm no exception.
We can't judge people. We can't say you can have chickens because you're good people, you can't. 'cause you're not a good person.
But you can say, all right, chickens are fine, and if this is a nuisance problem, because you got plenty of ordinances about nuisances. Basically, you guys can say at your will, any individual council member can say, this is a nuisance, let's address this at a meeting.
Because for sure it's orange.
Yeah, I mean, almost every one of your ordinances allow you guys to have that kind of power. Right or wrong, it's there. And that's my point, is that you can say, Yes, we'll go ahead and give you the variance, which, yes, that is saying, well, we're gonna allow it for you and not for these guys, and your ordinances do allow for that. It does allow for pick and choose, almost all of them, and even on yourselves, you could, like with the sewer thing pumping into the drains, you can say, you can't do that, but I'm okay to do that. In your own ordinances, it spells it out, that you allow exceptions for anything and exemptions for anything, just about every ordinance. So again, with the chicken specifically, we're trying to show that, first of all, a variance can be accepted and it can be an exception within the city council alone with no petitions needed whatsoever. Secondly, I've hoped in the short year that we've been here, we're trying to prove ourselves that not only are we friendly, we're outgoing, we spend money at the local businesses, and we wave and shake hands, we invite people over. We're trying to be outgoing in the community, trying to be part of the community. It's very hard. We're the outcasts. It's very hard for anybody to go into a generational area and say, hey, we're the new people, and welcome us in. That's a hard thing for anybody, because you're the new kid on the block, and everybody's looking at you, and that's just life. Well, everybody's looking at us, and we are trying to be considerate of our neighbors. We've done a lot of burning in the past to clean up this property, and but you know, with the problems and stuff that's recently been brought to my attention, that there was ever a problem with us burning at all, even though we've done it safely and legally and with burning permits. The last 2 weeks, I've hauled, just like everybody else, to the dump. You know, one night, if you were my neighbor over there, I think one day my dog got loose and you yelled out, "Put your dog on a leash." And
Because
since
your
that
dog
night,
was in the stance of fighting my little.
no, I agree. And he got loose on me, and that's my point. Is since that night, have you seen my dog loose once? Besides
Yeah.
us kicking a ball for him.
Yeah, because he was gonna take a poop in my yard and I banged on the window.
My dog?
Oh yeah, and I don't know if it was one of your kids, and told him, I don't know who it was, but then I seen you guys pointing and everything, and
Oh,
to go put him back on the leash, and I didn't see him
I
again.
wasn't even aware of that. I'm sorry, because we have.
Didn't even know he got over.
Yes, we
I
are.
tried to keep him
If
down.
our
We didn't
dog
keep him
barks
leashed
3
up.
times, we're on him. Stop barking. You know, we don't let him bark all day. We keep him locked up. In fact, the night they came over, deep in the woods, I had my dog trained up. I'm trying to just. My point is that
Did you hear
we're
the barking
trying.
last night?
My dog?
No, the
No.
neighbor's dog.
Yeah. See, we don't do that. We stop
It's
that
different
immediately.
insiders. No.
It's
Yeah, we're
not
gonna need it all
topic.
night.
I'm just going to put it this way.
You know, my dog barks.
It'll be our responsibility for sure to review the exact wording of the ordinance, because if I remember correctly, it doesn't say in every ordinance that there's an exception or variance that can be sought for each one.
Not everyone, but quite a few. Laws
Right,
for
that's what I'm
exceptions.
saying, it's our responsibility to review the exact wording to see if that's even allowable. I'm going to refer back to a story that you told me about, I think it was Jamestown, some guy got out of jail and they had an old law about when he got out of jail, they had to give him a
Oh,
horse and
Texas,
gun
a
or
horse
something.
and a gun because of old laws.
You know, and so, and you said they had to do it. Well, from a personal standpoint, even as a resident, well, this is a rule that's in this book.
Yeah.
You have to follow it. We have a hard enough time getting other things under wraps, let alone adding
Oh,
to it. That's where, you know, the personal stuff gets hard.
But half that book isn't followed, and almost everybody, every resident and business owner in this town is violating multiple ordinances.
We know. I
But
just
that's
said
my
that.
point, yeah, is,
That, and it's hard to get everything under wraps, because she works full-time, he works full-time, he works full-time, she just retired, I work full-time.
well, you can't run around being police.
No, and we don't have the budget to do it.
You have to
No.
satisfy the general consensus too.
That's where it would be, like, personally in my favor, we will not be voting on a variance. Is that if you so choose to really want to change the ordinance, it would be through petition, that's my opinion. That's where I would stand. I mean, like I said, I have livestock, I love livestock. But when you choose to live in town, there is certain rules in every town. Now, you could say that, yeah, the realtor didn't tell or told you a lie, but at the same time, that was also your own fault in the sense that where you lived, there was rules. You
Yep.
knew that town had rules.
And I knew when I come to
So
this
what-
town and said to my own
What would make
ignorance,
this
I
town
didn't.
any different?
Yeah, well, I agreed with that thought even the night on my lawn, that it was my own ignorance, I didn't come and read the 700 ordinances to find out what this town is requiring.
Right,
for
I mean, I'm
different
not
things.
saying that it's all your fault, because I
At least
mean,
just came and asked.
Yeah, well,
in my opinion, it was Dawn's fault too, but she's playing the game of, I'm gonna make a sale.
Yeah, you know.
That's
it-
an ethical thing.
You know,
That's an ethical
I
thing.
don't disagree with that at all. And I guess my point was, is like I started out, I was misled and it was my own ignorance for not coming down here reading the ordinances. But I'll tell you, it would be impossible for me today, or any resident or business owner, to follow those ordinances to a T.
I don't think so.
Oh, it
I
is.
really don't think so.
Have
We
you
have
read?
We have some big ones that we got coming down the line to take care of.
Have you seeked any other options of a different location you could raise the chickens that would be close?
No.
The farmhouse at a 10%.
They have a quarter acre on top of the hill, like it, over there, I think that's out of city limits.
Oh, that's in city limits
Is
too.
that quarter
The
acre?
dump grounds by the dump grounds lots?
Yeah.
That stuff's all in city.
No, we're
limits.
looking to raise them on our property and, so what does a petition take, 50% or?
Oh, I'd have to look, because we've never done it. The league, Minnesota Cities has that stuff. I mean, that's where I stand. I mean, I don't have voting power right here, or anything like that. It's gonna be up to,
I'm 100% with his.
I'm 100% with him.
I,
With what?
doing a petition if you seriously
Yeah.
wanna do it, and getting,
yep, because that gives fair option to, and it will be public, that it would be fair game for anybody who opposes to go around and petition too. And then it can be a town vote. And if it is, then. if
Well, they
it-
can't oppose it until it's written. Like, the petition has to come
The-
first to
it has
approve
to-
it,
No, the petition comes to get something
to
started,
get
to
enough
get a
of
vote.
it. Yeah,
And when the town people vote, if
yeah,
it's a yes, well, then we'll figure out the enforcements, and if it has to be, we increase hours, we'll be raising taxes, and then if people complain,
okay.
we will know what this is all coming for, because there's gonna be a lot more than you think. It's just, everything in town, even though we're a small town, everything that is done is a lot bigger than yourself or your property.
The town consists of a lot of elderly, which are probably on social security, and low-income families. So raising taxes will only hurt them.
Raising chickens would be great. Raising
But raising the
agriculture.
taxes of people who already have low income, then can't feed their children already.
So are
and
you
have
telling
social-
me not to petition because?
you go ahead.
Because-
That's up to
if
you.
wanna
I'm
do-
not telling you that, I'm just saying
That's
like,
where you're at.
I'm just
General
saying people will
consensus
fight
has
you
to be
because if you
involved.
raise taxes, like, if you get this
We're trying.
approved to raise your chickens, and the city decides to raise taxes so that they can employ people to enforce rules and regulations of the city, then that increases everyone's taxes that live here. That's what I'm saying. And the town consists of elderly and low-income families.
Okay.
So it will hurt them, and I'm saying that a lot of people probably will not be on your favor.
I hope so. I hope they are. How do you come up with the fee? Like, this says up to, I think it says the word up to, but $300 a day for that.
Our lawyer,
But your sewer, citywide sewer notice, that wasn't so citywide, says $50 a day.
Yeah, it can be a fee schedule, but depending on what's a bigger impact or
You don't have a way to set that number, or you just, your attorney just picks it out of the air and says do
not. Yeah,
this?
it, depending on the extent, it can be up to that maximum. And we've never done it. I mean, personally, the letters suck. They're not fun.
No, they're professional, it's gotta happen.
Legally,
Yeah.
we can do this stuff, and we just, let's have the conversations before we do it, and that's why we're like, okay, well, let's do this. But, with everything said, I feel like that the route will probably be a petition and stuff, and I figured it probably would be.
Okay.
I mean, change is hard for one thing,
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be people that have different perspectives, cause I mean, I can look at it from both sides, like I said, I have livestock.
Yeah, but the state legally wouldn't let you for physical size. I mean, like, you can't just
They used
get
to
a
have
chicken
horses in
coop,
town.
but things have changed. And just like the chickens,
Things
things
have
have
changed
changed.
too.
But a
They
chicken, you
changed
can't
too.
put 200 chickens in a small little pen. There's
You know
federal
what,
laws.
if you get this
that-
petition for this vote, and the public wants it changed, it'll change. If the public doesn't want it changed, it won't change.
Okay.
Does that sound right, fair?
The thing is, like I said, we don't have the manpower to regulate, you know, and if you say 7 chickens or 15 chickens, and Joe Blow has 40 chickens, you know, that's gonna cost the city money. You have to look at all the aspects of this.
Like I said, I mean, it's
To
a
regulate.
drafting of an ordinance, I mean,
So,
Mhm.
I could, one
like
way
I
or
said,
another,
other towns have, like, basically down to 2 or whatever, you know, they're restricted to 6 or whatever. So
allowed.
there's more to it than just, oh, we're gonna have chickens. No, you're not just gonna have chickens.
Yeah, but
There's gonna be a
it's
lot.
it's allowable. There's rules, but it's allowable.
No, it
And-
can
and,
be,
yeah.
but there's going to be rules with it, you know. But I'd say it's a petition thing. I mean, I mean, personally, for me, it's the manpower thing that gets to me when it comes to this stuff.
Well, I'm with
We
Vanessa.
just got rid of a lumber yard, and now the next goal is to get rid of all the cars that are right across the alley from it.
And hypothetically speaking, who's to stop you from building a 200 by 200 shed and receive basically free water to feed the chickens and have 1,000 birds in there, and, you know,
Yeah,
and there's gotta be rules.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
yeah, so it's more than just,
And not just you, but if somebody
Yeah.
sees you do it, then maybe they want it, you know.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying.
The petition would be a general consensus getting together and
You know,
And I know this
making
came up,
those
was it
decisions.
a few years ago in Madison, wasn't it? And they did a petition and a public vote.
yeah,
And I believe it was turned down in the public vote, wasn't it?
I think they allow them now.
Do they? I can't.
I think I had to go twice. The first time I
Okay.
did.
But it's only like 2 chickens.
Yeah, it's limited, like I said. So if
But
you
that-
get enough people that are like, yes, they should consider doing this.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
I
what
mean-
we'll have to do is move forward in that
Yeah,
direction,
no,
and if it is, it is, if it isn't, it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just to be, and that's just one of the things, it's not just us. I guess we speak on the behalf of people of town, obviously that's why I elected, but when it comes to stuff like this is a greater impact in changing a rule that people are gonna literally have to live with next to them.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
And that's why I'm here asking for a variance. And we didn't just do it, we did, but again, my fault, my bad.
no, I know,
And
I
we didn't,
know.
I complied,
I know,
they're gone, yeah.
I know.
Last thing tonight, do you have the information, you said that night on my lawn that the city has easement rights to my property, which would allow you to come on anytime at basically the city's choosing, anytime. Do you have that information? Because I have some information
And
that.
some of those